The camera is crazy. It looks like a fisheye lens.
We'll have to move this. Hey everybody, it's Thaddeus here from PrimalHacker, and we are about to start an in-person red light meetup, so I'm not going to talk to the camera here for more than a few minutes. We're here at Hudson Spine and Health, which is Dr. Travis Johnson's chiropractic space that has lots of biohacking tech, including cold plunges and red lights.
Where'd he go?
And he's an amazing chiropractor.
He's not
And today we're going to do red light secrets with Phil. So Phil's right here. He's going to be our guide on the Red Light Secrets Biohackers Twin Cities meetup. So this is also the Biohackers Twin Cities meetup today. It's Sunday. It's snowing outside, but we're probably not going to get much accumulation on the roads. So everybody can get home without the craziness and the chaos. And luckily there's no rush hour traffic today. So thanks for joining us, everybody. We're going to get started with the Red Light Twin Cities meetup. And Phil's going to demonstrate a whole bunch of devices here that he's got, and we're going to talk about some red light secrets that many people don't know about red lights. And when you're using a red light, there's some really critical things to know about the red light itself to have the best and the most benefit. So that's what we're going to be talking to our audience today about. And anyone online that has questions, make sure you put those in. And we are going to look at the chat as well to answer questions while we've got Phil. So I'm going to give him his microphone. Go ahead and you can just put that anywhere up close on your collar. And I'm going to take mine off so that Phil can get started. So Phil, if you just want to introduce yourself to everybody, and then you've got a couple questions here that people are interested in. How people are going to be interested in Flickr. People are going to be interested in red light benefits. Yep. And then some of the hacks that you've done with the red lights here, because you've got some really neat stuff. Yep. Cool. So Phil's definitely a red light expert. I would say I used to be a red light expert, and I have not kept up with the science as much in the last 2 years, but Phil absolutely has. So this should be a really great presentation from Phil.
All right, so my name's Philip Welch. A little bit of background about me. I played football at the University of Wisconsin from 2007 to 2011. Injury kept me from going to the NFL. What I think it was, I took a fluoroquinolone, which is an antibiotic that's known to cause mitochondrial dysfunction. It's referred to as being floxed in the athletic world. A common thing is like you tear tendons, it makes you really injury prone. But that got me obsessed with mitochondria the years following to kind of find ways to heal myself. So that got me into this biohacking space, and probably been into light and the mitochondria for the last 10 years. And the main mechanism I always say, the mitochondria seem to be, or mitochondrial dysfunction seems to be at the root cause of all chronic disease. So that's where red light comes in. It acts on the mitochondria, and that's where red light is so profound in so many areas and can do so many things, is because it acts on the mitochondria. So there's a lot to red light. Most people know of red light because it's become really popular. Most people know the full body red light panels, or panels that you use usually at a distance. The focus I have is using panels directly on the skin, because there's deeper penetration when you use a panel directly on the skin. And to be able to use it directly on the skin, it needs to be low EMF. It needs to be the right intensities. The other issue going on in the red light industry is just false marketing on the intensities of the panel. So there's this huge push to have the most intense panels possible, where they're usually falsely advertising their intensities by 2 or 3 X, which I think is a problem, because if you're going to create like a protocol or guide somebody on how to use these, or just to know how to use them when you're at your home, you need to know the right intensities and then be able to calculate dose and understand that. I'm coming out with a red light protocol probably in the next 2 weeks, kind of targeting athletes, specifically since I come from football, for CTE and traumatic brain injury. But it'll help everybody. It's not just for athletes, but that's kind of who I'm going after.
Can you describe first, Phil, what intensity is? So you said intensity is really important. So what is intensity, and like what is it a measure of?
So it's a measure, so it's usually measured in milliwatts per centimeter squared, which is the amount of light energy that you would get in a second. And as you get higher intensity, you start to feel heat. But light therapy is photobiomodulation, and by definition, photobiomodulation is non-thermal. And other terms used for red light is cold laser or low-level laser therapy. All terms that have, like, by the scientific establishments, been a focus is temperature. Like, you don't heat the skin at all, because you ruin the penetration of the light. You change when you heat the surface of the skin, you get blood comes to the surface, and a lot of that energy turns to heat and gets absorbed by the blood. So there is a focus on keeping the temperature low so you can get deeper penetration. Some problems with the red light industry right now is using these higher intensities, claiming that higher intensity gets you deeper penetration, and then you can also cut your time in half. It's true, like, if you double the intensity, you get the same dose in the half amount of time, but you don't necessarily get the same results. That's been proven in the studies. Really, my red light protocol is called Less is More, because really the focus is guiding people in using lower intensities, or at least understanding the intensities, how often they do it. If you red light too often, you can get something called a biphasic dose response. So you get too much stimulation, or just the right amount of stimulation is a good thing, but overdoing it, like with anything, can cause negative effects. For the most part, red light, you just kind of lose the effects of red light when you overdo it. So, like, when you're using any panel, you probably don't want to use it every day. You would use it, or you switch it up where you're using it, or there's other methods where you use it maybe 3 days in a row and then you take a week off. Or if you're doing like the red light bed in there, you're covering your whole body. You would probably only want to do that like I would think once or twice a week, or you lower the time that you would spend in there because you are covering your whole body. My focus is really helping people so let's talk about the panels that I recommend.
Right before you do that, can you also photobiomodulation?
Mm-hmm.
What does that term mean?
Can you help me with that one?
So my understanding of photobiomodulation is that photo is light. So we're taking photons. So all light energy at its base is like a photon, right? And so those photons are different colors: red, yellow, blue, green, violet, ultraviolet, infrared. Infrared and ultraviolet we can't see, but we know they have an impact on our body, right? Because we get a tan or a sunburn from invisible light. And so they all have a biological effect. And in photobiomodulation, most of the time when we say that term, we mean red and infrared light. So all the panels back here are some version of red and infrared. Largely when we say photobiomodulation, so bio is like biology, it's photons affecting our biology, and we modulate that based on the intensity. So the intensity is just how many photons are hitting a surface in a given amount of time. So in 1 second, you can have like 1 million photons hit your skin, or 1 photon hit your skin. And the amount of photons that are hitting your skin are what's changing your biology. It's giving more energy to your mitochondria. And when your mitochondria has more energy, it can heal itself from anything that's going on in the body. So injury, damage, whatever the issue is, photoaging, wrinkles, these things can be changed when the mitochondria has more energy. So specifically, we know that infrared light gives us more energy in the mitochondria. And red light has biological effects in the body. And in our normal everyday world, we're under blue LED lights, even though they don't always look blue. The majority of the light coming from LEDs from your devices and your overhead lights and your refrigerator light is a huge spike of blue light, zero infrared light, and almost no red light. So even though blue light can be healing, we're over consuming blue light. And the antidote to blue is red and infrared. So that's why these tools, these red lights, are so interesting, is we're losing our outdoor absorption of the full spectrum sun. And we're preferentially now absorbing blue light. Even in front of this window, the window allows all the blue light through. It doesn't block any blue light, but it blocks 50% of the red and infrared and almost all the UV. So even if you're in front of a window, you're not getting full spectrum sunlight. You're getting a lot of blue light. So photobiomodulation is giving your body photonic energy or photons of light that heal whatever is going on. And you can use green light, you can use blue light to heal. It depends on what you're trying to heal. Again, we're usually blue light toxic in our environment.
Yeah, because I just want to say, I think that's interesting because I was reading about they were saying that it wasn't photonic really healing for red light on this page I was reading. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. But
yeah,
you can use a different type of light, like say green to red. It's going to do different, is what you're
100%. So just like you can't get a sunburn or a suntan from red light, but you can get it from ultraviolet light. So red and infrared do very different things in the body than green, blue, purple, ultraviolet, and infrared. They all do different things that our biology has been tuned to, because we're unlike every other animal and plant that lives outdoors. Their biology is tuned to the sun and the earth energies. And we put ourselves inside these boxes and wear all these clothes. No other animal wears these clothes. So we protect ourselves from the earth energies and the light. And then we have all these industrial diseases we have to prevent. So each function, each wavelength of light has its own benefit.
okay.
Yep. So some people are now using green light to lots of really important and good benefit. Blue light isn't used that much. And I would say it's because we have so much blue light around us all the time. It's actually causing problems. But yeah,
It's becoming more popular. They're adding blue to red light panels, but I find it a little sketch, but they use it for skin stuff.
Yeah,
like
say,
it can be antimicrobial.
Correct. Antimicrobial bacteria. And what Phil is going to talk about is like a lot of these red light companies that have big money in the space.
It's an extremely oversaturated market. And for whatever reason, like it doesn't, I've affiliated myself with Gembared just because of how honest he is and how diligent he is about giving accurate intensity measurements. That, as far as I know, he's really the only one pushing out the accurate intensity so you can use these like medical devices. And I do think they are medical devices, so they should be treated as such. And you should know, they should be providing accurate intensities so you know how to properly use these like medical devices.
So the last thing that Phil mentioned, I don't know if y'all caught, was that many of the companies, if not most of the companies out there selling red lights, are lying in their advertising in some way, shape, or form. Whether they know it or not, some know it and they do it anyway, either about their intensity or about how to use the light or what their lights are doing. And for sure on the cost, they overcharge for a lot of what you can get for cheaper for the exact same thing in many cases. So it's important to understand a little bit about the intensities, about how red light is used by the body, and then you can choose a red light device that is going to work for what you want it to work for the best price. And that's a lot of what Phil teaches.
Yeah. And the key thing that they've kind of pinpointed as red light and near infrared light, what it's doing is acting on cytochrome C oxidase in the mitochondria. And with that, it's releasing nitric oxide, which helps with blood circulation. And then it also is speeding up the electron transport chain. So you're getting higher, or you're increasing ATP from stimulating cytochrome C oxidase. There also might be effects on how it affects water. Can change, I believe, what's called the ion channel in the mitochondria. But also there's like this idea of structured water and changing changing the structure of water plays a role in maybe even your blood circulation, because there might not just be, your heart might not be just pumping the blood, but there might be an aspect of red light and near infrared light changing the structure of water, which allows it to move differently through your body. That's a complex subject. Dr. Pollock's a good, I think it's Pollock. Yeah, fourth phase of water. There's a good TED talk on that. That's a complex subject that we won't get into, but I would say this is the panel that I recommend or people start with. And with the red light protocol I'm bringing out, it's going to be centered around these smaller panels and really focused on targeting specific areas on the body. This one I have hooked up to a battery right now, but most will be plugged in the wall. This just makes it easier for using it for demonstration. So I have a battery on the back, but this panel is $250. It's a good entry point, and you can pretty much do everything with this. I would take this over a $10,000 red light setup, just a cheap $250, because the things you can do with it are, I think, more therapeutic. One thing we'll be talking about is focusing on treating the brain, and then other things would be targeting the lymph nodes. You have it under your armpit, your elbow, behind the knee. Another aspect will be targeting bones that are close to the surface, and one would be the tibia, the sternum, and then also your skull. And with that, you're stimulating stem cells in the bone marrow. So in a way, you're getting almost free stem cell therapy, because what it's doing is pretty much knocking those stem cells out and stimulating them. So then your body will use those in places it needs to heal. So a lot of the research on treating the brain or the heart used treating the tibia or the sternum or the skull. You're not necessarily getting the light into the brain, but the effects of stimulating stem cells might play a role, which that would be called systemic benefits, where you're treating one area, but you're getting the effects somewhere else in the body. So that's a key point to point out. You can only really do that with a panel that you can use directly on the skin. To use a panel directly on the skin, it needs to be low EMF. There's a lot of battery powered devices, and if it's battery powered, you don't have to worry about EMF. Otherwise, you want a panel that has an external power supply, kind of like a computer. And what this is doing is it's converting the AC from the wall into DC, which is like a battery. And there's other aspects. So if you have a fan in a red light device, it's not going to be low EMF. And also the panel needs to be grounded. I know you said you had a panel from Amazon. The panels that look like this from Amazon are not going to be grounded, so they're going to be pretty high EMF, which are okay to use at a distance. But when you talk about using it directly on the skin, you want to make sure it's grounded.
And so that's like using it directly on the skin. The
or holding it, yeah.
The electromagnetic frequencies, basically it's an electric field. So they have high electric fields that you're going to put on your body. And when an electric field runs through your body goes into a stress response. And with the red light therapy, you want the opposite of a stress response. You want to be relaxing and healing. And so if you put a big electric field on your body, you're going to be negating some of the red light benefits. And that's why you want them to be grounded or really low EMF when you use them. So both Phil and I work with Andrew from Gemba Red for a very specific reason. Like back 8 years ago when I started studying this stuff, there were only like 2 red light companies out there. And then Andrew came along, and he, as Phil said, he's the most honest person in the whole business. And he will tell you if there's better technology out there than his, and he'll tell you where to get it. And he'll tell you how to build your own red light device from home, even though he sells red lights.
Yeah, like Amazon, he tells people how they can go buy on Alibaba if they want. Yeah. And especially like he only supplies people in the US, so he helps people like, I would buy this and this and this if you live in another country. So he's just extremely honest.
The other thing I think is important is like 2 things Phil said, like increase energy so you can heal faster for whatever's going on. Skin benefits, so photo aging, wrinkles, fine lines can be healed with the red version of the device. And then the next thing is stem cell production. Like, I don't know if you caught that, but I think that's the least known thing in red lights at the moment, is that people want to go out and do these expensive stem cell therapies, and other people say like, well, I can't afford stem cell therapy. What can I do? Well, you can get a $250 red light, and you can put it on the tibia or the sternum or whatever and make your own stem cells in your body. Like, to me, that's huge. Like, that would be a whole retreat that people would pay thousands of dollars for, to learn how to make their own stem cells, because people are currently paying whatever it is, $4,000 or $5,000 for one stem cell treatment. And here it is, you can do it basically for free.
Yeah. So that's
So if I want to ground my thing, what am I going to use to
Oh,
ground
so-
it?
well, if you
it's
wanted to
not
ground
in
it,
my body?
you could actually take off the back plate and then buy a cord that plugs into the wall, the grounding outlet,
Yeah.
and then you'd have to somehow connect it to the metal plate that the LEDs are connected to.
I think Andrew did a video on YouTube because I had a panel like that, and he sent me one that wasn't grounded, and he showed me how to open it up and ground it.
Yeah.
So you can
It's
pull
pretty
the,
simple.
it's really easy to
Okay.
open the back. It's just a screwdriver. You unscrew the back,
Yeah.
and then you just take a wire that you touch to a different part of this,
Mhm.
and you have to have a grounded plug as well.
Yeah.
I think Andrew has it all on YouTube. Like you can
Okay.
go to, we can send you the link.
Okay.
And he
I
shows
won't know
you.
the intensity of your panel, but I assume if it's
just
that
like-
model,
it's
it's
a
going to
lot
be
like that.
lower intensity. So you can use it at a distance and it's going to be really good for the face. I like really low intensity for treating the skin on the face. So this is going to be around 5 milliwatts per centimeter squared. And that's at a distance. And on the skin, it's going to be about 8 to 10. And that's considered pretty low. You can do
Okay.
that pretty much every day at that intensity. That's the intensity I like to treat my eyes. A lot of people are afraid to use red light panels on their eyes, which I would be too, with how the market is being super intense. Like you can damage your eyes at about 100 milliwatts per centimeter squared. So if you're at 5, you're way under that, and it's real easy on the eyes. So this is my go-to when treating the eyes. The eyes are the most mitochondrial dense, the retina is. And I think the retina has a huge effect on your brain and your entire body. Also, like setting your circadian rhythm with red light, the bright stimulation in the morning, especially this winter. I was waking up at like 5 a.m. The sun doesn't come up for another 3 hours. So I'm red lighting my eyes for 3 minutes, real low dose. That's going to be about 1 joule that I'm aiming for per day, which is pretty low. With the vector, since I think a lot of people are going to have the vector starting out at 12 inches, you're about at 10 to 12 milliwatts per centimeter squared. So like anywhere in this range right here,
So this
I'll
is
look directly at the diodes and do that for 3 minutes every morning.
so this is something, Phil, a lot of people don't know is each panel, when you buy it or you look online, will have an intensity. So how many photons are hitting your body in a certain area for a certain time. And they all give you a number, 100 centimeters per or milliwatts per centimeter squared, something like that.
All the major red light companies are pretty much bragging how they're over 100 milliwatts, which those levels would burn your skin. So they're probably more like 60 to 80. And still that's twice the intensity of the sun. The sun's about 30 milliwatts per centimeter squared, just to give you reference. And I don't think it's a good idea, at least when you're using a full body panel, to go over what the sun is, because our body's built mechanisms for like dealing with that. So there might be photo aging to red light when you use it at higher intensities. When people are using this to reduce wrinkles and stuff, you don't want to age your skin.
So you don't want to go out and get a crazy, super intense panel that you use for a really long time. But
if you do, you stand at a distance.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What people don't know is that whatever that number is, they tell you as the intensity. So let's say they say it's 100. It doesn't mean a lot to most people, but that number is based on a certain distance from the panel. If you move the panel an inch away and another inch away, the amount of photons hitting your skin drastically drops. So what most people don't know is to lower the intensity of a panel, you move it further away. And when you move it further away, I think what you're going to tell us too.
Yeah, so like this panel is 44, 45 milliwatts directly on the skin. When I move it 12 inches, it drops to about 12 to 15. And then from 24 inches, I'm right around 10, maybe a little under.
Do you get as much benefit, Phil, when it's further away, or do you get more like reflection?
So when you use red light at distance, you are reflecting a lot of the light's lost on your skin and reflecting off the skin. And I think it's important to note there's like 6,000 studies, maybe at least peer-reviewed articles. A lot of those are reviewing the research, but all of those are pretty much done using cold lasers directly on the skin. There's only actually about 11 studies, I think, on full body red light, and all of those studies used under 30 milliwatts per centimeter squared for the most part. So that just gives you an idea. Like the science is using low intensity, but these people selling these panels are marketing as, oh, we have the best panel at 150 milliwatts per centimeter squared. which is just, it's ridiculous when there's no research supporting. And then they also pick and choose from the research from like lasers used directly on the skin to support their product that they're using at a distance at a ridiculous intensity. So it's just kind of, it's almost laughable. But that's why when you use light directly on the skin, you're getting about 5 times more penetration. You can kind of see that when you take a flashlight and just if the second you hold it to your skin, you can see it through your hand, you know, especially if I was in the dark. When I'm at a distance, it gets more absorbed. It's getting reflected off the skin, especially if you're white Caucasian, you're reflecting more skin or more light off the skin, and it's about 60%. So you're losing, and then a lot of that light's getting absorbed in the first millimeter or two. But once you put it to your skin, then you can get to about 5 to 8 millimeters. And the skin can go from like 2 to 4 millimeters thick. So to actually get into the muscles, tendons, fascia, organs, you need to use red light directly on the skin.
I think that's a really big point, because most people are using this to get deep into like tendon or brain for traumatic brain injury or elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not getting past the skin or the blood, all the benefit is happening on the skin, which there's still benefit, or into the blood, which will take some of those photons and move them through the body, but it won't get to the deep tendons, bone, all of these things if you're not getting the right penetration depth in your body. So you don't get as much of a benefit without it touching the skin.
Or is it different? So like if you're focused on skin health for your face, for anti-aging, you use it at a distance. For your eyes, you use it at a distance. When you're using a full body red light, you're getting systemic benefits from just improved skin health. Like to give an example, I was icing my back and I didn't use a cover on the ice pack and I burnt my back. And just that burn on the surface of my skin caused inflammation in my joints. My hands hurt. It just caused a lot of issues. I could see my immune system was affected, and that was just like affecting my skin on the surface. And then to help with that, I was using red light at a distance on my skin. But that you can get a lot of benefits from treating the skin, and you get a lot of immune system effects. You get a lot of full body immune, like inflammation, like reduction from using full body red light. So it's not, I'm not completely like, there's a huge effect to it, but there's multiple ways to use red light, and that it's direct skin contact's kind of been overlooked. And even if you just get a red flashlight, you can do a lot with that. As far as this red light I use on my face for sinus stuff. I use it on targeted areas like my knees. Just hard to get areas with a bigger panel. We could talk about, so there's panels that use different frequencies. This one right here is 810. This is near infrared. This just gives you an idea. You can see a faint red because the panel is not going to be 100% 810 nanometer. There's going to be a range where, there's a curve to light. The peak is at 810. So there is some red that comes through, just so you can tell that they're on. I covered the 4 corners. He added 660 red, just so you know it's on. I covered it because I use this panel at night. A common frequency for treating the brain is 810. So I do like this panel for treating the head.
So 810 is the wavelength of light.
And it is considered the deepest penetrating. Somewhere between 810 and 830 is the deepest penetrating light.
And 810 would be infrared, which is why you can't see the light when it's on.
So he has 4 vectors right now. One is the 810, and all of these are $250. And I love the size because you can target specific areas, like if you thyroid, if you have hypothyroid, it's been shown to help with that. So some people will target their thyroid. Like I said, the sternum, the thymus is underneath your sternum, and supposedly red lighting that can stimulate melatonin and help with sleep. Another effect with near infrared, is it plays a part in making melatonin. So red lighting on your body might produce melatonin. One that helps at the mitochondrial level, might help with, it acts as a antioxidant, and 2, it's later used to help with sleep and recovery. It's a huge, I mean, that's why me and Thaddeus have really got into circadian rhythm and blocking blue light and stuff, is that effect of melatonin. Just timing it so it's released when we fall asleep. So red light can affect melatonin levels. What else should we, so this panel right here, we could talk about methods of how I would use this for brain health. So what I'm saying for my red light protocol is, like, when you have a study on treating the brain, it's going to be focused on like one specific area with one frequency, and there's pretty amazing results with that. But what you can do with a panel like this is you can, instead of, so a common device used for Alzheimer's, it's been studied for Parkinson's disease, traumatic brain injury. Like, the results, the studies on it are pretty astounding. But those are using devices directly on the head or treating the tibia. But if we have a device like this, we can do everything from treating the eyes, treating the tibia to get the stem cell effect, to treating the head directly. And how I use this device on the head is I actually will wear an ice pack on my head for about 5 to 10 minutes to cool the skin. So there's an effect. A lot of studies will sometimes cool the skin because the skin's more optically clear, or you can get light deeper into the body when the skin's cool. So I'll use ice packs before I red light on areas on the body and in my head. So I'll use the ice pack knowing that it reduces the amount of blood in there. And then when you use direct skin contact, you're also pushing away some of that blood to get deeper in. Which gets me to, so this is Gambared's newest panel. It's got curved lenses. So it's almost like this is a bigger version of that idea. Is when you push this into the skin, it's like pushing your finger into the skin where you get a white spot. So you're pushing the blood away. And that's the main thing that we're fighting against to get penetration. So when you push, the idea of this panel is these lenses, they're convex or spherical lenses. They push 3 millimeters into the skin, which help push away that blood. And then you also get an extra 3 millimeters because you're pushing it into the skin. So this is a good panel to use on muscles. I use it on my head too.
Which panel is that, Phil?
This is the Gambared Spazer 2.0. And that panel is 100 milliwatts or 95 milliwatts per centimeter squared. So it's an intense panel. But the timing on that is you would use it 1 to 2 minutes, and you'll stick to around 5 to 10 joules per centimeter squared. That might not mean a lot to you, but that's kind of the range we try to aim for, is to stay around 5 to 10 joules per centimeter squared. There is a calculator on Gambared's website that you can, so one, you buy a panel from him and you can see the intensities from different distances, and then punch that into his calculator to see what dose you're getting in that amount of time. So the vector, I stick to about 5 minutes. There's a timer built in, which is nice because sometimes I'll use this before bed and I will fall asleep with it on, and then I just know, like, I'm not going to wake up burnt or like overdosed. So it'll shut off automatically in 10 minutes, but I tend to move it after about 5 minutes onto a different spot. And how I would use this at night, or I like to use red light in the morning and I like to use it at night. And the bright red light can stimulate a lot of people and keep them up. I've found, like, some people have trouble sleeping after doing red light. The direct skin contact helps a little bit because you're not getting the light directly in your skin, or like it's getting into your skin, but you're not getting it from a full body red light. You're staying at a distance and really getting it into your eyes and stuff. And then also using the near infrared version of the panels, because this won't really affect or wake you, like cause a stimulatory response in your eyes. And then if I was to treat my head, I would do maybe the forehead for 3 minutes, the temples for 3 minutes, 1 to 3 minutes is probably a good dose. The back of the head.
Will it go through the hair?
Yeah, it'll go through the hair. The hair, I don't believe, absorbs any near infrared. It might a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. I don't worry about the hair at all. And then I might choose various spots on my body. After about 10 minutes, the panel heats up, and then you'll start losing, you know, you don't want the panel to be hot. So 10 minutes is probably a good dose, 10 to 15 minutes.
And then where, Phil,
panel.
would you, before bed, if you wanted to stimulate melatonin, is there a specific spot you would use the panel? Because melatonin, it gives you
I like
that
it on the
benefit.
gut before bed, honestly. I tend to do gut and lower back, and then the sternum. And each area, I'm kind of in my mind, I'm like, I don't want to really treat it more than 2 to 3 times a week. If I play a lot of pickleball, so I'm treating my legs a lot for recovery, or the feet. And oftentimes how I'll use it is maybe I'll use it hard for 3 days on a leg. Sometimes I'll treat twice in a day, but I'll take a break for a week after doing like 3 days in a row, because there's something called biphasic dose response, which is like a curve that after that curve goes down after about 24 hours. And if you get past a certain point, you lose like the stimulation. But if you do it multiple days in a row, you build up tolerance to the red light, and you lose the effects. So there is like there's an art or a strategy to how to use it to get the most stimulation, to not overdo it, to not underdo it. So that's kind of, there's a lot of complexity to it to like really explain each panel, and until you actually like to see the numbers and how long to do each one. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I'm trying to think what else to add.
Can you show the flashlight with the ball on it?
Yeah, so this is a good entry point. So these are Convoy S2 flashlights you can buy from, let's see, where's it? It's in my pocket. It comes like this. This is about $20 off AliExpress. A lot of red light companies will sell these for like $200. So it's nice to have an option that's $20, and then you have to buy special batteries for them. They're 3.7 volt flat top 18650 lithium batteries. On Amazon, you probably get like 4 for like $20. I have maybe 8 of these flashlights laying around because I like to use them at night to get around, 1 and then 2 for treatment. And there are studies on using red light for acupuncture. So it's called laser acupuncture. And I added a marble to the end, and what I do is tape it. The marble concentrates the light into a more concentrated focal point, and then you get the effects of pushing that marble into the skin. So you get the effect of one getting deeper by pushing it in, and with acupuncture there's acupressure. So this device is a nice acupressure device because it really pinpoints an area. It's hard to really cover acupuncture points, but like if you have health issues, you could go to an acupuncturist and see how they use acupuncture on you, and then come back with a red light device and use it on the same areas that they hit. And how you would use it is about 30 seconds to a minute on each spot. My favorite spots are on the hand, which is large intestine 4, and then 5. And then another common one is right here. This has an effect for like anxiety, or it's calming. There's acupuncture points that have like broad ranging benefits throughout the body, so I kind of target those. Another one is kidney 3 and 4 on the ankle, right here next to, you can watch these on YouTube. People will tell you how to find them and stuff. The other one is liver 2, which is the top of the foot. Another point I like is in the bottom of the foot, which is kidney 2. On the gut, yeah, the one right here under the nose, the forehead.
What is that used for?
I think it's used for anxiety.
Okay.
It can be calming. Stuff for the sinuses. There's a bunch of acupuncture points on the head. The arm alone has 90 acupuncture points. So you could buy an acupuncture book and really get into it and they'll lay out like what to do for various ailments or this and that. Some people think acupuncture is woo-woo, but I've done it my entire football career for various things, and I've had profound effects from acupuncture, and I use it with the red light. It's just nice, and it's fun to get into because it's like you're learning this, and then if you go to an acupuncturist, you kind of have an idea of what they're doing when they poke different points. But yeah, this device, I also have it on an 810 flashlight, which it's got to be a little bigger. It's just a bigger flashlight. This device, you don't really want to look into it because it can be pretty intense. You're pretty much making a laser when you put this marble on it, and you can see that it's on by just seeing a red dot. There's various intensities of these flashlights, so I'll just say you want to use it on the lowest intensity with the near infrared flashlight with the red. Most people are going to use the red's probably the more practical one to get because you can use it for getting around your house. You can see it. You can get a lot of effects from just 660 nanometer red. And you want to I use it on intensity 2. So there's different intensities. I don't know. Have you used the red flashlight at all?
Yeah, I've got. So after I saw Phil make his flashlights,
it's such a nice flashlight for
I made
$20.
some of my own. So I'm showing mine here,
Yeah.
but I use the red tape as well.
Yeah.
Is this the secret?
And I use duct tape, and then I use the electrical tape over the duct tape.
Okay, and I used shrink wrap tape.
Nice,
like naval shrink wrap tape, and heated it. So heated the shrink wrap tape, and then I did electrical tape over the top.
That's good.
But yeah, I've been using this, and so a friend of mine has one of these that she paid $200 for, and it's just a red light. This is the exact same light as this, and she was using it on bursitis, and it went away within a day. And she tried everything else for 2 weeks before that. Nothing would work. And then she used her flashlight and held it, and it did not have one of these balls on it. It was just the flashlight with no intensifier. Call it an intensifier here. It's like a magic wand now. But she used it just like this, and it went away within 1 day. And she's used it 2 more times to really good benefit.
With the marble on it?
Without the marble.
Without, yeah. Which
So,
that can have you might not even need the marble to get the effects. It might be overkill with the marble. So I use both. Like when I use it on my face for sinuses and whatnot, I'm using it without the ball because it covers a bigger area. Common thing, people are using red light in the nose and with the idea that you're getting into the brain, but I think you're really only doing blood irradiation. There's free floating mitochondria in the blood. And then there also might be like, what do you call, like, when you're exposed to high EMF, the blood clots differently, you know, so there might be an effect on using red light on the blood to make it flow better.
Yeah, I think that's the dark field microscopy or live blood analysis. They show clumping of blood vessels, and you'll see it used for all sorts of things to test how people's blood is
pumping
flowing.
of the red blood cells. Yeah.
Yep. So if this can help basically.
And how I would instead of
better.
my nose, I'm doing the neck like this, or I'll use on the wrist. But
the arteries are.
Yeah, instead of getting a specialized device for the nose, which usually will cost $500 to $800. Violite is one of the biggest companies doing head treatments, and I always say, like, for $250 you can have do the exact same thing a Violite does, but you can get the whole body effects from blood irradiation, from doing the sternum, from doing the thyroid, from doing the lymph nodes, which can help, help with getting rid of toxins and help with the immune system, which can help the brain. So really, I'm just a bigger fan of a cheap panel like this. We could get into some of this. I know you have a few of these panels, or this is the Gemba Red Improve. This panel I consider more of a hybrid panel. This panel you want to use directly on the skin for the most part, but you don't want to push really hard because it has the opposite effect of almost cupping your skin. So if you push too hard, you get red dots on your body where then the blood's actually going to those spots. So you want to use this almost lightly on the skin and you're getting less reflection. So I view this as almost like a surface treatment. You're getting probably a little deeper than a full body panel. You're getting better absorption of that red light, and it's at a real predictable intensity of around 8 milliwatts per centimeter squared. When I use full body red light, I aim for about 10 to 15 milliwatts per centimeter squared, which is considerably low compared to even the studies. A general rule is the more area you cover with red light, the lower the intensity. And you can push intensity higher when you use, you're treating a smaller area like a flashlight. So the flashlights will be about 200 milliwatts per centimeter squared or more.
And using a panel like this, like a really good way to use it if you're at home, right, is you can put it behind you when you're sitting on the couch doing your normal reading a book, watching TV, if you still do that. Or you can put it like by your sternum under your shirt and just lay down on the couch or in bed. So as Phil said, a lot of people treat their gut. Your gut is where 90% of your melatonin is produced in your body. And for whatever reason, people find when they use it for 10 minutes just under their shirt, on their gut or their sternum or both, because it's a pretty big panel, they get way better sleep that night. Plus you get the red light benefits. So
yeah, and I mean, the gut plays a huge role on your brain too, because there's the gut brain axis. So your brain affects the gut affects the brain. There's been studies on red light affecting the gut microbiome. So a huge effect. Red light on the stomach seems key. There's also stem cells in the, I believe the fat in your stomach. So there is a effect of stem cells from treating the stomach too. Another option would be the Gemba Red Beacon, which is going to be a little bit higher price range, but you get a lot larger panel. He came out this week, coming out with the version 2 of this, which has twice as many lights. I think it's a cool option because you can treat, I lay both legs on it like this at a time, or it's good for the feet. It's good size to treat both your feet at once. It's a good panel for the gut or the back. And he is adding an ability to lower or raise the intensity on it. I'm not supposed to tell anybody that for some reason, but that's a sweet feature.
I think Andrew doesn't follow us on YouTube.
That's why I figure like he will probably turn it off by the time, if he actually watches this by this time. And I don't think it's big. You can get a kilowatt meter and see how much the panel is consuming, and then we'll eventually create a chart so you'll know the intensity of the panel based off how much it's consuming. With this, I have a good idea of the intensity. I have it cranked down to as low as possible. It generates very little. It's probably about the intensity of a Gemba Red vector. So about 40 milliwatts per centimeter squared. So it'd be about a 5-minute treatment with a panel like this.
Does Andrew or Gemba Red or anybody have, like, I see you made your own battery packs. Do they have any that work off battery so you can use them in the car or the airplane?
He doesn't sell any battery because the battery packs are kind of a pain. They die and then they're just kind of unpredictable. He just decided it's easier. This is a Jamico, or I think that's the brand. I taped over the symbol, but this was $50. So not very cheap, but it's kind of nice to have. I do red light in the car. With the infrared one, I'll just drive with it on my head, or like I'll be going to pickleball and I'm like, okay, I'll treat here and here, my lower back or something. I think it helps with, I think the head does. Like you can almost use red light as like a cup of coffee, or like you can get like almost a bump from like doing 1 minute for just real quick on the head. And then you can do it more often when you do lower doses. So I like to do lower doses, shorter times, because you can do it more often. And we also, like with anything, you aim for the minimum effective dose, like with medicine or anything, because why would you take 1,000 milligrams of ibuprofen when you can take 100 milligrams, because there's far more side effects when you use higher doses of anything. And then you can also come back more and more and get the benefits for longer term and just more often. So when I'm treating, the most common way I treat for athletic performance is with this panel, and I'll use it on maybe 5 to 10 spots, and I'm doing it for 1 minute. And 1 minute with this panel is only 5 joules. And that is a good dose to where I could do it at night and then in the morning right before I go. And another key point to point out is the effects of red light. They peak at about 4 to 6 hours. So you might not get the effects or feel anything from your red light treatment for 4 to 6 hours. So if I was to plan it for an athletic performance, I would try and aim for 4 to 6 hours before. And then the effects last for about up to 48 hours. They can find like biomarkers from the red light that are raised 48 hours after the treatment. So that's why you might wait 1 or 2 days or 2 or 3 days to treat again. But if you're doing a lower dose, you can almost stack it multiple, split, instead of doing it 10 minutes, do 5 minutes and 5 minutes in the evening. So there's lots of methods of how you can use it.
Phil, how could gamers like use red light to their advantage? There's so many gamers.
I would definitely
right now.
do the eyes. I think treating the eyes could have a massive effect on eye health and preventing later effects from staring at a screen, and also just using it for the head. I think it would definitely help with reaction time and stuff. Yeah.
My last question for you is, I saw you duct taping something with your child on Instagram.
Yeah, that was a joke.
I know.
Yeah. It's like, how do you get your kid to wear blue blocking glasses? And I was duct taping, like a fake duct taping. I wet the duct tape before I put it around him. And because they're not going to wear them, they take them off immediately. So I was marketing. I sell screens for computer and TV screens. We have the amber material I use on these lights, so it reduces the blue light to help with sleep and eye health and stuff.
That was so funny. Then he showed at the end of that video, he showed like the kid's hair like in the duct tape.
Yeah, I gave him a haircut and put it in there.
I was joking.
he showed him
funny.
taping duct taping blue blocking glasses around his son's head.
And then this way.
And people, it was the idea of like, yeah, let's trigger some people to think I actually did this.
Oh my god! And he like pulled the tape off, and his hair was in it. It was so funny.
Yeah,
but people didn't get that it was a joke. Some people, they're like, "What?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "It's Phil. It's a joke."
Yeah.
He didn't really do that.
Why do you tell people where to find you, Phil?
You can find me. I'm mostly on Instagram. My handle is WAKN, WAKN, and I came up with that brand, We All Know Nothing, because it was Light Trump's Food, and then I kind of moved it to We All Know Nothing because of how much I've changed my opinion on health and things over the years. Is I'm just not, I'm not sure about really anything, but how I'm saying with this red light is like, I'm pretty confident in red light, like almost 99% confident in red light therapy, and especially when you use it properly, that it's safe and effective. And it's kind of, my focus is going to be red light in the future and red light therapy. And that's kind of where I'm putting all my cards. I think it can help a lot of people, especially in today's world with mental health and various things.
Do you have a TBI?
A what?
Do you have a traumatic brain injury?
I mean, I came from racing motocross and snowboarding. Football, I mean, I was a kicker, so I didn't have too many hits. I got a couple cheap shots, but it's definitely potential with some of my crashes and with snowboarding and stuff.
So what have you noticed, like from before red light to after red light?
The main effect, so I've actually just started treating the head because I'm extremely cautious in how I take supplements. I barely take any supplement. I'm just extremely cautious about anything I do with myself. And until I really dove into the science to get this red light protocol out, I didn't realize how sound the science was around the brain and how safe it is. For the longest time, I was very cautious with using red light on the brain. And now recently I've been about 2 months treating the brain pretty heavily, just because I started to understand the dosage and stuff a lot more so I could do it properly. But the main effect that I have felt was, so I've been having that antibiotic I took the years after. I just couldn't lift weights. I had, my leg injury was bugging me for probably 5 to 7 years. Like my quad would lock up. I'd go kick, it feels completely fine. And then my quad would just lock up and I wouldn't be able to like kick, and it would take like, it didn't feel like a muscle tear or anything. It felt neurological. Or it could be the fascia. So I think the red light, using it pretty hardcore directly on the skin is really, I mean, I feel better athletically than I ever have. Because when I was playing pickleball maybe 2 years ago, I would get done after like 1 or 2 times in a week, and I felt just like an old man. You know, I've done so many things for health and whatnot, and red light has been the one thing that kind of got me back to feeling athletically back to where I was when I was 20. And I think that has to do with reaching the fascia and deeper tissue and stuff. I was using red light for a long time. Like I got my first panel in 2017 at Juve, and all of those. I just didn't think, when I got that, I was like, I didn't use it much because a full body red light panel is hard to use. You have to stand in front of it. And then also I was just like, I don't really feel any of the effects. I just haven't felt any effects from full body red light till I got into using it directly on the skin. I'm like, yeah, noticeable effect.
Do you know of any remedies for tinnitus?
That's my last question. There are some red light devices for the ear. I would think that a lot of it's stemming from just like all over the body. I would think just you could maybe affect it. You could help with acupuncture stuff. There's definitely acupuncture points that help with tinnitus. And then just treating the brain and hope the systemic benefits of red light help whatever's causing it. Because tinnitus seems to be extremely complex, what's causing it.
Other questions for Phil in the audience?
The nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a disrupted nervous system, how would you treat the brain here?
And I didn't mention the spine. I kind of view another aspect of red light is viewing it like a chiropractor would, where various parts down the spine are going to affect various organs. You know, they have the acupuncture maps where it's like C5's connected to, you know, like your lungs and whatnot. So treating the spine, I think, would help, you know, spinal. I don't think there's actually a lot of research on treating spine issue, like neurological issues in the spine. I don't know though.
Yeah.
I would assume, you know, especially the stem cell stuff, maybe treating the tibia and whatnot will have systemic benefits that could help with that too.
What would the protocol be for like treating eyes? Like I have a pretty thick prescription. Is there like a one size fits all someone could do for like length and wavelength?
So the most of the research on the eyes using 670. 670 is hard to find. Gembared sells a vector panel that's 100% 670 that has a diffused lens, and it's pretty much designed for treating the eye. So if you really want to get to treating the eye, you could use that. But if you want a panel that you can use for multiple things, you could use the vector at a distance. For the eyes, I use this Improve, because I find this to be pretty gentle on the eyes. I can stare direct, like just like this, and I do that for 3 minutes every morning. And there's a wide range of things that the red light can help with the eyes. So it'd be interesting to see if you can. It's helped people with vision issues, and it's usually older people doing red light on the eyes. I think it has whole body benefits though by treating the retina, because the retina is it's the gateway to your brain. So many things happen when you have diabetic retinopathy. Do you know what is it where you're pretty much causing restricted blood flow to the retina, which causes hypoxia,
No,
which is like a lack of
it's like
oxygen.
neuropathy, but it's to the eye.
So yeah, you can look in the eyes of it's called an ophthalmoscope, and you can actually
See the retina
test
effects.
see the actual blood vessels and whether they're like broken up, and you can see how there's way more blood vessels in the actual retina. It's actually a test we can do. It's a really cool test to see.
And I think the red light can help stimulate capillaries and help heal like capillaries that may stop functioning because the nitric oxide effect maybe effects on collagen too. So there does seem an effect of repairing the tiny capillaries. Another thing is like my grandma. So my wife's grandma died, you know, like I feel like every old, like in their 90s, they're dying from infections on their feet from like having diabetes and poor circulation. And then they get infections and then they get sepsis. And it's like treating the back of the knee and just the legs in general to get back some of that circulation and get the lymphatic system working again, I would think would have a great effect on older people. And the effect that they can't get outside. Like my grandma probably hasn't been outside for, I don't know, 5 years. Who knows? I mean, most old people when they're in like a nursing home don't go outside. And when they are outside, they've got pants on and bandages and whatnot. So red lights can be huge for that type of person who can't get outside in the sun. I always think sunlight's the most important. You can get a lot of, it's like free red light therapy with all the full spectrum, especially in the morning and evening when there's an effect of getting photobiomodulation from temperature. So like when the sun's heating your skin, you're not getting really much of the photobiomodulation effect. It's more on the surface of your skin, like vitamin D and stuff. But when it's cool, you can get more of that effect from sunlight that you would get from a red light panel.
So the sickness that, like, I got sick from a red light,
Mm-hmm.
and I was standing like this close at those ones at the sauna.
It's possible. It's flickering.
You know, the ones, yeah.
A big issue, especially
That's
with the
why I was, like,
older
really
ones, is
ill, like,
flickering.
a week,
These are really intense.
Yeah.
And pretty close in a sauna, so you're getting heat at the same time.
Yeah, and it doesn't make sense to do red light in a sauna. You won't get any effect from the red light. So like people will say you're getting photobiomodulation in a near infrared sauna or a sauna with near infrared, but you're not. You want to separate heat and red light and near infrared light. Yeah, I just don't think there's really any effect when you're doing it with heat.
in like 20 minutes. That's my other thing. Like how long, I mean, it sounds like you just do a little is probably better than doing a long time with the red light.
And then, yeah, older people, or if you have like some sort of issue, like, you know, like when I was treating my back that was burned, I was treating it far more often than I would normally, because when you have like damaged cells, they respond better to more red light. Older people seem to benefit more from more red light than where a younger person, or you're treating a healthy area, you would do lower doses.
Yeah, it sounds like it was definitely too long of a time.
Everyone responds differently too. Yeah, I mean, my mom has had a negative effect from a red light panel and was afraid for the longest time. And then I got her both those panels right there, and she's using really low dose, and she's gotten profound effects on her knee. She was like ready to have her knee replaced. I was like, that'll destroy you. You can't have that. So I got her those panels, and it's completely reversed the issue she was having. And, you know, I kind of laid out, don't just treat your knee, you treat your whole body to treat your knee in a way with red light. Another research that's interesting was they put cuts on on people's arms and then treated them with red light. And the cuts that were not treated with red light had more of an effect than the cuts that were treated with red light, but they were far better than the people who got no red light. So what it was showing was there's this systemic of benefits from treating one area of the body, and somehow that transfers over to another part of the body to help with healing. Other things, they treated like half the face, and the side that didn't get red light therapy benefited from treating the face, one side of the face. So the red light works very strangely in that way.
We have a friend, he had a brain tumor removed, Phil.
Mhm.
And after that, he did like this protocol with MCT oil and red light. And do you know Jesse at all? Jesse? No. Maybe not. Anyway, the doctors were like astounded that his scar and like everything healed like twice as fast as it normally they've ever seen.
Wow.
It's just incredible. Yeah, he's got a cool story.
Nice.
So it's kind of fun.
He was trying to bring that information to the Mayo Clinic, and they didn't want to hear about it. So
they didn't want to hear about the red light. That's crazy, because like other countries are real into the red light. In the U.S., it's kind of like still kind of considered woo. Yeah.
he was at Mayo Clinic for the surgery and the healing, and he brought the red light and MCT oil and butter to heal his brain because he got part of his brain cut out. So he wanted high fat, and he wanted the red light to help heal after the surgery, and he healed super fast. But the Mayo Clinic was like, get this stuff out of here. You're not supposed to have any of that.
I would instruct, if you're going to go and have any level of surgery, to do a good amount of red light before you go in, because there's like some of the studies they did, cyanide poisoning on animals, and the animals that were treated with red light were far more resilient to the cyanide. So like you're building up like a tolerance to environmental stresses, and going under surgery is extremely like a lack of oxygen to certain parts of the body and stuff. So I would be taking probably ketones, and I would be taking doing red light hardcore, or if I had a traumatic brain injury, or like to get ready for a football game, you're going to get hit and have some level of damage to the brain. You'd red light probably before, after, and then do a few other things too in combination.
Thanks. Any other questions?
One more. So with the transcranial photobiomodulation, so penetrating through the skull, are there studies that you found like that do work and do not work penetrating through that skull, and like what the intensity is? Is it only the infrared that's penetrating to the actual brain tissue?
I think the light is getting into it, but it's at such a low intensity by the time it gets to the brain. But the brain is so mitochondrial dense that it doesn't need much light stimulation. So there is, you're getting some level of light, but there's strategies of like, I think once you go above 100 milliwatts per centimeter squared directly on the skin, it doesn't help with penetration. They find like kind of a negative effects, because you can use lasers at high intensities on the brain to try and get through there. But 100 milliwatts per centimeter squared seems to be the highest you really want to go. That's kind of where the number came for the spacer. Gembared's future spacers will be at 60 milliwatts per centimeter squared, but the ones that just came out are at like 95. And that's about as deep as you're going to get with red light using that method, with the lens pushing into the skin. The light is really focused on one area, kind of like a laser, and then using about 100 milliwatts per centimeter squared.
So I'm curious I wonder if that's the idea with, say, doing red light or lasers through the mouth, the back of the mouth, or the top of the nose, where there might be, less resistance compared to like a thick skull.
Yeah, I mean, people have talked about getting red light to hit the brain through the nose. I'm kind of skeptical on whether you're actually, I think it's more blood irradiation.
Yeah.
But the light does travel like 2 inches. So you're getting some level of intensity in there, but is it high enough to actually cause effects on the mitochondria and whatnot would be the question. But yeah, there's so many parameters to using red light. It's interesting.
It just seems like like what you're saying, these high mitochondrial organs, like the eye.
The eye, that's why I stick to real low, and you can get a lot of benefits from 1 joule per centimeter squared, which is using low intensity for 1 minute or 3 minutes.
And I'm curious from your question with the ringing in the ears, if those like inner ear organs would be sensitive to that too.
I've seen some products that are like earbuds that have red light diodes on them. I use the red light on my mouth a lot. I had a friend whose wife went through chemotherapy, and a common thing is the mouth sores and like real severe pain in the mouth, and like red light fixed it incredibly quick. I wouldn't do that. Not with that intensity. That light's really intense.
Oh, even on this one.
Like that's like over 100 milliwatts per centimeter squared.
It's that high. It's on the 2 setting.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Don't use that on the eye, unless what you can do is you can put Scotch tape over it, and then it diffuses it a lot, pretty great. But
Are you saying don't put it in his eye, but you can put it under his eye?
yeah, yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, he was kind of shy. It's fine within a few seconds.
Yeah.
But yeah, with that intensity, you could actually damage the eye in probably 30 seconds.
I was on AliExpress last night, and they had the little things that go in the ears, just for like 94 cents or something.
Red light.
A red light.
Interesting.
Have you seen those?
I haven't seen I've seen products on Instagram marketing,
Okay.
and I was like, maybe it might be interesting.
One more
It's marketed
question.
towards tinnitus.
What are your thoughts, and have you looked into synergistic like modes to like enhance red light? So like the thought of like these photo dynamic, say like spirulina or chlorella
Or methylene
blue, like all, or silver, gold, all these things that are photo reflective within the body. I guess what
they
is the
absorb
research
it, like
showing?
methylene blue. I guess I use it topically, and I've used it on my kids to like they'll get just like I have an 8-month-old and a 3.5-year-old, and they've gotten like random. My wife freaks out and like takes them to the doctor, and they're like, "Oh, here's this antibiotic cream," and then I put methylene blue on it, and then hit it with red light, and that makes it an antimicrobial.
Yeah.
And it's gone within like a day. So that's kind of how I use. I'm a little more careful with methylene blue, ingesting it, and I don't really know the effects on red light with that. There are photosensitizers that they're looking for, like treating cancer, where they'll probably inject it into the site and then use certain frequencies to cause, apoptosis, or like to kill the cancer with light. But yeah.
All right. Any other questions, or does anyone want to see some of the lights for themselves and play around a little bit?
I guess one thing I didn't show was I like having a timer. So this is a nice little square timer you can buy for like $5 on Amazon. And then you can easily, if I don't time, I tend to get, when I'm meditating, sometimes I'm on my phone, sometimes I'm like doing work and I just forget about it. So then setting a timer is key. I didn't show, I use marbles on this panel. This will be a really popular panel. So I wanted to show this. I put marbles on it like this. And so then this turns it into a deeper penetration, because this is focusing the light, kind of like the idea with the flashlights.
How do they stay on there when you use it?
It's just like this. I upgraded my panel to where I can stand on it like this. You can't do that on most, because you'd break the back, but I put heat sinks in the back that are 40 millimeters that hit the back to really support it. So it made it heavier, but most people won't ever add that. So I do that on my feet, and it pushes, so I can put more weight on this panel and then get the effect of it pushing into the skin more. So that's just an idea. These are 16 millimeter marbles. It makes that panel a little bit more dynamic of how you can use it, because then
I've never seen that. It's like the same as the flashlight idea.
Yeah, it's easy to do, and marbles are cheap. And I'll randomly use this to treat, like I'll sit on it, to treat. I just find that's like the easiest way to treat like my glutes and stuff, or my hamstrings.
Oh, you use it for testosterone.
The feet, I like it on the feet too. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. Yeah, with the red light then.
Cool.
And then other things, he sells something like this, which are, I have these mounted to my house as spotlights around my house.
Outside.
Yeah. So my whole house, around it is lit up at night and then
So the sea
I have
turtles-
this in my kitchen, or I move it around. I have one of these in my shower. My wife likes it because it shows your arm hair so for shaving, the red light really makes your hair stand out. So she likes it for that, because it's waterproof. It's a waterproof panel. I have one in my kitchen. So I turn that and just shine it kind of at a corner like this. You can move it around easy, but those are, I think this is $200. He's got smaller ones for 150. But
What are your thoughts on the flex beam behind you?
flex beam's kind of sold as a neck panel. I've never used one. I mean, has the idea what you wrap it like that,
Or around your arm or your leg, or
yeah.
But it's
they're
supposed.
kind of expensive. They're like $500. They're battery powered, which is nice. The intensity they marketed, I think, probably close to 100.
Yeah.
Which means it's probably more like 50, which would be kind of similar to the Vector. I just find the Vectors affordable and just can be used for every single thing that these they're kind of gimmicky. There's a use for it. I like this. I mean, people would use that for blood irradiation and for the thyroid on the neck. You see it commonly, or
And I think that one's 600 or 700. So the
I just don't see how I would ever, if I had that, I would never use it. But I don't mean to like diss on it. But
We travel with it.
yeah,
It's the best.
Well, because we didn't have these the smaller Gemba Reds till
yeah,
in this box now.
I definitely will never not travel with one of these, because it's like oftentimes I'll travel and I'll get a headache, or my wife will get a headache, and I'm just like, all right, here, do this. I did a video where I was doing the 810 on the airplane and doing blood irradiation. It might help with jet lag. It might help offset some of the effects. Who knows? It was kind of funny.
Do people next to you like freak out?
I mean, because you can't really see the light, but like they're also like, what is he doing? They did.
What is this?
Yeah. You know, there was the Jack Cruz product, the Quantlet, which I think I paid $800 for, and it was a wristband that didn't do anything. They didn't use the intensities that would have done anything. It was a complete scam, and they broke within like a month, and then the guy just disappeared. Every single one broke within like a month, and it's same idea, but you can get far better effects with a $250 Vector directly, and then you can use mine or Thaddeus's discount code to save. What's your discount code?
Mine's just sleep. And
Sleep. Mine's WAKN, WAKN.
Yeah,
so
we'll put that
matter.
in the YouTube for you too.
Yeah, just 10%, so $225 for a Vector.
Yeah, $225 is a really good deal.
And I mean, what was the panel that became really popular on social media recently? It's a little handheld device. It's about half this size.
I'm not really.
But like any of the major brands are selling devices with probably that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20 lights, you know, about that size for like $400. And I don't know the intensity of them. They're battery powered most of the time, but they're like $400 to $500. So with this, you get like 3 times the size for half the price.
With somebody who studied the intensities and everything else to make it more effective.
So the best thing about the Gemba Red panels, in both your opinion, is that it has low EMF. It's been tested for low EMF where others aren't, and they don't even address that. Or
most companies will market it as low EMF, but they'll be low EMF at the distance that they recommend, 6 inches.
They're actually low EMF in the magnetic field range, but they never test electric field.
Yeah,
is what I found when I tested them myself. So anyone that said they have a low EMF device, they never tested the electric field, and they tried to convince me that they didn't have to, because if you measure one field, it's the same as all the rest, which is completely untrue. So you have to test 3 different fields most of the time to know if something is low EMF.
And when you use this panel, you're technically grounded because the device is grounded and it's metal. So you're actually grounding yourself too. So when you measure EMF, when you're using that, it's like lower. It's just because of the grounding effect, because you have an ambient, right, electric and magnetic field and then you're grounded when you're touching that metal panel. I think if there's anything else.
If you were gonna like just buy your first one, which one would you go with?
I would go with the Vector with the 4 frequencies. It has 630, 660, 830, and 850. Each frequency of light will kind of stimulate the mitochondria in different ways. So I just like having the 4 frequencies. If I was darker skinned, then I have, you know, I'll be working with athletes that are African American, and it's different when you have dark skin because the melanin absorbs a lot of the red and turns it to heat. So you would use more near infrared. So the 810 would be good if you were darker skin maybe to start with, because you might not get the effects of the red light actually getting into the body, and it'll generate more heat on the skin.
So Phil, when you buy that, so like say Julie's gonna buy that, like how will she know the protocol to use it? Like does she call you or text? I'm just kidding.
Well, I'm gonna be releasing it, and I'll probably charge $50 just because the idea is I'll have a Telegram and I'll be in communication with you and helping, you know, kind of tailor it for people as much as I can. And I just don't want to release that to the public just because that people will copy. There's just effect. I just want it to be behind a paywall for several reasons.
So you would write up like a protocol.
Yeah, I'm writing
first.
up a protocol of how to use, and then a map of like where to treat and how often, and then you can like
great.
fill out a sheet of like, all right, I treated this, pretty much almost laying it out as like we're designing a study that's going to be more effective than any study ever designed, because we're going to use it on all parts of the body, taking into account of everything. As opposed to most studies, you're not gonna use it for long term. So also, I didn't mention that red light, like the effects build over time. So you'll get some effects immediately, and others it might take like several weeks, several months. So like with hair growth, the effects seem to take about 6 months of consistently treating every other day. When you overtreat, it seems to overstimulate the hair follicles, and then so like. There's a lot to where you're treating, how often, and then how long will those effects take to really set in. But I'll be posting. That's kind of what I'm shifting towards, is creating this red light protocol, and that'll be in. I'm hoping to have it done in 2 weeks. I've been dragging my feet for like a year on this, but it's been good because it's like you get more and more information. I finally feel like I'm somewhat like. And when I'm like, I'm creating videos to explain all this, and you can just do a better job of explaining when you like pre-write it out and then almost tell a story of like with videos, with studies, with top researchers and their content, like combined with what I'll be talking about and stuff. So there's a lot to lay out with red light. It's complex.
It's so confusing and overwhelming, and like I get all of it.
But it's easy.
I live with him,
If you
and
just
I'm
were to
always
buy
like,
this 5 minutes, various spots, sometimes you'll do 10 minutes if you want to hit deeper spots, because you got to realize the light is losing intensity as it goes deeper. So you're not really getting measuring the joules or the intensity is at the surface, and what you're actually getting at the levels you're trying to reach. It might be 10 minutes. 5 to 10 minutes is good with this level of intensity, and you don't really need to not really know any more than that.
Cool. You know, Hunter Murray?
I don't know.
Oh, he said, "What's up, man?"
What's up?
So if you want to follow Phil and all his red light adventures, go to WeAllKnowNothing_WAKN at Instagram. You've also got a YouTube, but I think you do most of the stuff on Instagram. So follow him.
I will
there.
be making more red YouTube content, but yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then he'll have his protocol out in a couple weeks. So everybody check that out if you're interested in listening to us here. And then anybody that came to today's meetup, every month we do a meetup with a different theme. So last month was sleep. We're going to be doing one on cold coming up, and the benefits of cold therapy and how to get cold therapy either for free, because we live in a cold climate, or where you can pay to use like a cold plunge with instruction on breath work and all the benefits. And any other topics people are interested in, we want you to email us. So we're Biohackers Twin Cities on meetup.com. We also have Facebook invites that are out there. Send us what topics you all want to know about, either if you're listening or you're in the audience here. And those are the ones we want to do because we provide this free community service where we bring in really great speakers or we present ourselves on whatever topic people want. I think we did the ultra processed food pandemic or plandemic last time about ultra processed foods and their effect on our biology. So we've got an infinite variety of topics. If anybody, yeah, January was ultra processed foods, then sleep, and then red light, then cold, and we've got plenty more. So everyone just send us topics and look for those meetups if you're interested in joining us. And we're open to doing events elsewhere in the Twin Cities too, if people reach out.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Phil,
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks. And then Geberit sells the best red light bulbs too.